I definitely wanted to ask you about your personal trainer. Like,
Oh yeah, that's a weird thing to do. That's a weird thing of oh, I got extra money. Well, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, it's a weird.
okay, I think this is good. I think we could just talk like this.
Yeah, we can talk like that. Are we good?
Yeah, and then I also have it on the phone.
Okay.
So there's no way we don't have enough.
Back in the day, before I moved here, yeah, they said, I asked them, I was like, can I still work with you? And they're like, if you move to Brooklyn or New York, we're gonna have to part ways. We only do people in Chicago. I mean, I could have just been like, could have not told them, and I would still have auditions. And then if I just ever booked something, I just have to fly myself back, and hopefully not have a canceled flight.
That's what I do. I have in New Orleans.
Yeah, you're just a local hire. Just do that. Yeah.
My agent's like, don't tell anyone you're in New York. Like, okay.
No,
Of course not. Not that any casting directors ever looked at my social media.
I mean, yeah, I could have just said nothing, but
yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. I guess we should introduce the show.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode 1, the inaugural episode of Starving Artists, where we're going to talk about the trials and somewhat of the triumphs.
Sure.
Of living the dream.
That's it.
That's what I wrote on this paper.
I love it. Then it's official.
And my first guest is a fellow stand-up actor, improviser.
Sure. All that.
All
that. Sure.
Improv guy. I don't know what the word is.
I mean, that works.
Who has done comedy coast to coast.
Done comedy. Yeah, that is true.
Technically, please welcome Jake West.
Hey, everybody.
And that's when the band plays.
Hello, Elliot Nation.
We'll put the band in post.
Of course, work them in.
I actually have an applause button.
I love it that we can't hear it, but we know it's happening.
It's like a really obnoxious, studio.
That's perfect.
Okay. Well, now we've made this a formal interview.
Now we're official. Yep, I like it.
So,
so far, so good. So far, yep, that's it. Take your time.
I don't know. It's funny. It's funny I've brought you here. I keep thinking about. I'm like, I really hope this interview goes well because it's such a pain in the ass just to get to Crown Heights.
True. Yeah.
Was it easy?
I mean, I art trained it to Atlanta. No one cares. But no one cares. But it was fine.
Yeah.
It was just just during rush hour.
Oh yes.
That was so everyone's like, you're just doing this, or you're just jammed in, trying to keep your valuables from being stolen.
Someone's playing music on their Bluetooth.
Yeah. No, but yeah, fortunately, no one. Everybody was in their zone. But yeah, you never know.
Have you ever been accosted on the train?
Weirdly, no, not here, not in New York.
You haven't?
No.
It happened to me one weekend.
Yeah.
I bumped a guy with my bag.
Oh, and that was it?
Oh.
He
shoved me.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and then he started being like, I'm going to knock you the fuck out. I'm going to knock you out.
Oh. See, I thought that
was... At 8 in the morning.
See, perfect. I thought that was... I was ready. I was bracing for that. I was like, something's going to happen on the train, because the train it is always a mess. But that's happened for me in L.A. a couple times. Never Chicago, weirdly, but never New York. But I'm waiting. I'm always bracing.
Yeah.
I work from home, so it's like I don't really do crowded trains much anyway. But if I go in, just to a mic or whatever. But it's usually stuff is quieted down. It's less crowded then.
I feel like since I've made an effort to not touch anyone.
Yeah.
I found the touching.
Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah.
Sometimes you're just waiting to set a psycho off,
Oh yeah, you never know.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't want to do a straight up biography.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
We will not be doing that.
We don't have time to get into the nitty gritty of what. No.
One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is you are somewhat mysterious.
Oh shit. Okay.
I mean, you have some fun credits.
Oh shit, that is yeah.
I mean, you have credits for television.
Yeah.
You were on the Tonight Show.
That is
with
true.
With Jay Leno.
That is
and
true.
I'm not going to embarrass you talking about that.
No.
How was Jay?
He's really down to earth. He's such a cool guy. It was fine.
Did you actually get to meet him, or did you get to work with him in an office setting, or
we did?
Did he ever come in and talk to people?
No, there was no office. For me, there was no office setting. I wasn't I'm sure if you were a writer, probably you would. I just was a person they would call in super last minute like the day of. It was always the day of. Can you get here in 4 hours?
Yeah.
Like that was it. Because it was basically like this current event happened.
Mm-hmm.
We want to write a sketch about it today to make fun of this thing that happened. So it would just be like, can you just do this thing? And can you get down here in 2 or 3 or 4 hours?
So it was like you were a freelance guy.
Yeah, that was
you
it.
weren't like in the office, right?
No, I wasn't sitting there. I was just like, I would just get a call randomly.
It's so weird. I mean, you were recurring somewhat, right?
Yeah, I probably did like 10 sketches there.
10 sketches.
Something like that. It was a lot. Yeah, there were a lot. And some of them were tiny. You're in there for 2 seconds, and some, like one of them was like, it was like 2 days. It was like a 2-day sketch.
Yeah.
Where it was like following him as he's sleepwalking. It was an interesting idea.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, my doctor says I sleepwalk or whatever, so they want to see what I do. And so then it was like him like doing all these weird adventures, and he like stole a car. Mm-hmm. And like he like went into a Los Angeles National Park, and I was a park ranger, and I was like, Mr. Leno?
So I was wondering, he kidnapped you.
Yes, he kidnapped the parks ranger, and like he had like and then he like kept a collection of park rangers in his basement. I don't know, it was like a whole. So I didn't write it.
Yeah.
Or I did, whatever. If you like it or whatever, but that was the idea.
I'm gonna reveal how not savvy I am, but like, how do you get something like that? How do you even start working with like Tonight Show? Like, I mean, how many years have you been doing improv or stand up, or like which of those things led you to actually be able to be on the Tonight Show?
There was a small agency that may or may not be a real agency that was a person who had the breakdowns back in those days, and they would send me out on auditions for like legit theater, or not theater, but like theatrical auditions. And that's really hard to get in LA. Like even if you have a commercial agent, they don't, if you're going on commercials, even if that in LA it's very like segregated, like as far as acting wise.
Yeah.
So even when you're with this commercial agent, the office might have both. They might have, we send you out, we have a TV side and we have a commercial side, and they don't mix. Yeah. And even if you start booking for commercials, they're still like, no, we don't care.
You cannot act.
So it's really hard to get in for like auditioning for like any TV stuff. So somebody was like, hey, look, I'll start to submit you. And they submitted me for these like small like roles. And one of them was for the Tonight Show. It was like, and it was it was all improv. All this, it was like this like pretend you're a couple. It was something like pretend you're a couple, and the husband, you've been married a few years, and you really want to sleep with your wife's sister, but you don't want to admit that, but you do. And so they started asking you questions about like, how is it at the family reunion, and how is it with the sister, and the single sister is recently single, and how do you feel about that, and how do you react? And like, oh man, that's awesome, because I mean, not that, and you start to kind of like let those clues out. That was the vibe. That was the vibe of the audition. Yeah. And then so somehow I booked that.
So the audition, did you have like a script, or just like a...
No.
It was one of those where they just asked you to improvise.
They just gave you the vibe. Like, this is the vibe, just do this thing, and you're a couple. And that was it. And somehow the person I auditioned with was really good. Like, she was really cool. And yes, improv auditions, whatever. If you have actor friends, yeah, they're terrible.
That was the worst audition.
They're always bad. They're always bad. And it's mostly like the waiting room is people just like shouting at each other, or somebody's like doing push-ups, you're running. It's like really just a lot of nervous energy. And it's just too much. Yeah. But this was like really, everybody was like, for some reason, really relaxed. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. And so then I did that, and then they just kept bringing me back. Like they kept going, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? And I started playing like weird little people. And some of them were tiny. Some of them were like, just like walk across you're dressed like an English Bobby, and you walk across the screen, look at the camera, and then keep walking. And because like, the Queen did something weird that day in the news. And so like I was like an English Bobby looking at the Queen or something like that. So
would you say you got that with your improv skills?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it helped.
Okay, one thing I did want to get to the bottom of.
Yeah.
We're getting to the bottom of.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's dig into it.
So you do stand-up, improv, acting. I'm going to not repeat that again.
Sure.
But which was like the first? And, which one was the first? Like when you were a kid, what did you see yourself doing?
I love it that you're like, he's a mysterious guy. Honestly, eventually when you said that, I was like, oh God, I didn't realize. I didn't realize everyone's like, what is his deal?
No, I just thought that would be funny to say.
That is a funny, yeah, it's a funny thing. For a second, I was afraid it was like some kind of weird intervention. Like, you gotta listen, man, come clean. What's wrong?
Yeah, what's going on?
Why are you so weird?
Yeah.
I would say the first thing I did was stand up, because I didn't have, well, I guess acting really, because I majored in drama in college.
Okay.
So even before I did stand up, that was my only venue, and so I was like this weird. It was a weird kid who was trying to there was a vibe of like round peg or whatever, square peg, round hole, whatever, trying to fit in like this very serious world of like young collegiate dramatic actors. Like, so we were doing Hamlet. And
very little humor.
Very little. And like Ibsen and Strindberg, it doesn't matter if you know these people or not. They're just very serious, old-timey plays. And not a lot of laughter, but there's things, and they still play on Broadway now. You still see people doing like A Doll's House. Like Jessica Chastain, I think, she did A Doll's House like last year. They were nominated for the Tonys. So that's like a serious play. They still bring that stuff out. And that's the kind of stuff that you were doing. And I was like, man, there were some comedies, but the big things that everyone wanted to do was this heavy stuff. Yeah. And I tried, and I was okay.
Where'd you go to college?
UVA.
Okay.
So there's a weird side note of that was I literally was 2 years behind Tina Fey at UVA, and I saw her in Cabaret. And of course, our careers have taken the similar path.
I mean, you still keep in touch, right?
I mean, all the time. She's like, Jake, when are you going to be on the thing? I was like, I'm so busy. I am so busy, Tina. I'll get back to you.
That's an interesting one.
When Kenneth Branagh does his next murder mystery.
I want to be too scatterbrained, but no, I have a note here that says you were in the groundlings with Flo from Progressive. That's all. That one just cracks me up. I don't know why.
That was a class. Yes, we were in a class. I was not in the groundlings.
Yeah, that's
to be clear.
True.
They'll be very prickly. They'll be, I was in our level 1 class. Yes, we had that together. And she was awesome. She was awesome.
Disrespect the ground.
I don't want to disrespect. Yeah, she was awesome then. She's awesome. She's always was really, really strong. Very, very funny performer, and a great stand-up too. I don't know if she still does it, but she was like kind of more story oriented, but really funny.
That'd be cool if I just got you. I tried to get you to just burn bridges with famous people you don't necessarily know.
You hated Jay Leno. You hated Flo. You said she was a piece. No.
Now, what was wrong with Tina Fey when she?
Why? What was her worst song? Yeah.
Okay, so you were at UVA. You're from Philly.
Right.
Where'd you go from there? Did you go to Los Angeles? Did you go back to Philly?
I did summer stock theater for a summer, obviously. Right after graduation, like I flew, literally missed my graduation. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. I was like, are we allowed to curse? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I don't care. This is going on YouTube.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. I don't want to demonetize you or whatever.
No, I don't think it.
Okay, cool.
How could we possibly... I'm not going to be the guy who's going to really bring in the controversial bits, I don't think.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you're bumping a guy on the train is probably the hottest take.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that for a summer, and that was like a thing of you're doing all of these musicals, like 5 of them.
Were you singing?
Yes.
Okay. So
Joseph, yes. Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat, and you're performing in this little like ramshackle, like this wooden shack of a theater in Hazelhurst, Wisconsin, and like way north, like almost Canada, like way up there. And so there was a farce called The Senator Wore Pantyhose, Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, Mikado, and Oklahoma. I think those were the 4 that I was in. It was like a rotation.
Is this like a big post-grad thing? Like what is summer stock? Like what is summer stock? I'm so ignorant.
No, yeah, and that's, I mean, it's, as far as I only did the one thing, but as far as I know, it's like a lot of smallish theaters that don't have like a ton of money, and they're, I guess they're tourist destinations. Those places were packed. It was like in these towns I'd never heard of. This town I'd never heard of. I was like, where the hell do these people come from? But they would do, I guess, northern Wisconsin. There are a lot of people that go boating up there. A lot of Midwesterners love to go boating.
Boating, summer.
They love to go boating and skiing and hiking, and so they're all when they're not boating, they're watching the shows. So they're like, Oklahoma, oh, it's so great. And we're
Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Oh,
yeah, and and I had like purple jeans, like they had like dyed. So all the guys had like very bright jeans. Like one guy had orange jeans because it was like it has to be bright because it was like I mean, the average age of the audience was probably like 65. So it was like, just make it fun and bright and colorful and do old timey shows.
Yeah.
And that was like, all right, cool, entertain the folks. And that was a lot of and it was just this little theaters, and you play like a rotation of shows.
So out of college, like, did you do an office job, or like right out of college were you just like, I'm just gonna do, showbiz stuff and like work service industry? What was the day to day?
That was the job. I mean, that was the summer stock job was the first job I had, and like that was very low paying. It was. I mean, it was like Now, there was no rent, no utilities. Like that was like because you lived in like this dorm, like this. They would just have this. You could live there for like 4 months or however long. Yeah, compound basically. Okay. So you live there, and then you just barely. When you're like the first newer person, you barely make enough to buy groceries. So that was it. And then right out of that, basically at UVA. I got that job from this thing called Southeastern Theater Conference, SETC. And I think they have a Northeastern Theater Conference. I don't know. I don't even know if those things still exist. But you basically go and you do like your minute monologue and like a 30-second song in front of like 50 or 100 producers of all of these like smaller, like non-Broadway, non-major regional theater places. Yeah. And then what happens is you have a number, either a number 2 or 3, whatever. And then an hour later, you go and you look at your number and you see who wants to call you back, who wants to see you. And it's in a hotel. So you and a bunch of other people.
The conference room or something? Yeah,
you go to the conference room or you go to their hotel room, a suite or whatever, with other people. And then you read a script or you read whatever they give you. And then you do that. And depending on what show they're doing, you read a scene from whatever show they're doing. And then they go from there. If they want to call you back or make an offer for a show, for a little thing, then you do that. So like I got an offer for something in Florida. It was like the Cross and Sword. And I was like, Juan Rivas. I have no idea how I remember that. Yeah. He was just like a villain. Like, and it was an outdoor theater, so you're like shouting. And I saw one of the videos, and it was just a guy like, I don't know what he was. He was just challenging people to duels. And then I got offered to be
pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. It would have been fun. Yeah. But then I got offered to do a thing. I mean, this sounds like this is not a brag. Like this is not.
No, I don't.
These are fun jobs when you're 22.
Yeah,
like, yeah.
What was your attitude going into it though? When you got summer
I was excited.
Were you like, oh yeah?
Yeah, I was like 22.
I'm like, dude,
I'm paid to do this, to be. I'm basically a professional actor. I've made it. Here we go. And then people start talking. Adam Sandler did. He worked at Busch Gardens when he was 19. All of these rumors that probably aren't true, but stuff that people say. So actually, Conan O'Brien was a stuffed character when he was. So I was Sir Bumbly the Knight from SETC at Busch Gardens, a kid. So I was in a kids show for a year in Tampa, and it was the Land of the Dragons, and I had to wear like green tights for a kids show, five shows a day.
Were you a dragon?
So it rotated. 1 day a week I was the knight, and 2 days a week or 3 I was a dragon. It rotated around, and so there were 3 parts, and you knew all the parts. Yeah. And you just would. But the dragon was it was like to a recorder, but you would like have choreography that you're dancing around, doing this. I'm like,
you're telling me you can't do Broadway?
Basically, it's the same thing.
I mean,
it's a very straight line. So literally, I have, just for the fuck of it, I have sent a couple pictures of myself as Sir Bumbly to some of the agents here. Yeah. Like, I see you do Broadway, so this should speak for itself. I have sent some of those. It's like me and 2 dragons, like smile, like why not? Who cares?
I have some chops.
Pretty sure. If you haven't heard of Sir Bumbly, get on board. Yeah. So that was, and the lesson was it's okay to be different. That was the Land of the Dragons lesson. So that kids, and so you're dancing and singing outside like this night suit at like 95 degrees. And man, after a year, everybody, you can tell when you first start, you're like, oh, this is an amazing job. I can like ride the roller coasters at lunch. You can do all this. You're hanging out with like these hot dancer girls, and like most of the guys are gay. So like if you're a straight guy, like you're young, it was like, oh my God. And they're all like, it's just so fun. It's a fun life because it's not an office job, and you don't have to, the hours are like 10:30 to 5:30. and we were in Tampa, and like there was Ybor City, so we would go hanging out, and you would stay out till like 3 a.m. It was fun. It was like just a fun life.
Sounds
for a
awesome.
year, and then after a year, you're like, oh my god, I gotta get out. I can't do this anymore. I can't be a dragon anymore. So I had to go back.
What was post? Okay. So what was right after that? When did the dream end?
Then the
When did the
theme
dream
park,
job
the
become
theme
a
park,
nightmare?
Yeah, the theme park job. So then after a year of that, I moved back to Philly, moved in with my parents for about a year in Philly, and then that was office job. I was like office job time, and then I started going up to New York for stand-up stuff, and I started doing stand-up like open mics in Philly too. So I would.
What was the office job?
The office.
I gotta know.
Oh yeah, that was for a chemical company. I think it's still in Philly. It's called FMC.
Uh-huh.
I was like answering phones, like transferring calls. That's all I did. Answer phones and transfer calls. This huge. I don't even know what FMC stands for. It's like food. I couldn't even tell you. Mercantile, chemical. I think it's food and something chemical, and they're still around. And and then I got promoted to transportation, and then from answering phones, the transportation department literally would track the trains and the whereabouts of the trains from city to city to make sure they were all on track, to make sure that the cars were all in sequence and none of the cars had were missing.
Uh-huh.
And that was the job. You literally would call. You would call like Columbus, Ohio. Okay, is this the order? And you'd like read off the order and you'd check them all off, because sometimes cars would like get taken off the train. You'd have like these mile-long trains of cars. So that was the exciting job.
Making sure the frozen food got to where it was going or something.
Yeah, whatever it was.
Whatever.
Yeah. Making sure
Mercury.
the hydrogen peroxide tubs were all transferred, went from Cleveland to wherever they were going, Tallahassee or whatever. Yeah, and that was it. That was that for like a year, and then I moved to LA.
Okay. So you started going to do mics in New York?
Yeah.
Is that the first place you really did stand up? I mean, besides Philly?
Philly and New York, yeah. For like a long time ago, and it was a whole different thing.
What were like the spots? Not that anyone cares.
No, but it was like Gotham was a mic that I hit a couple times. New York Comedy Club, Gladys's Comedy Room.
Gladys.
Yes.
Who's still doing mics.
Yes. So she was in the back of a place called Hamburger Harry's off of Times Square. I think it was 45th Street. And I don't think Hamburger Harry's exists anymore. So I don't even know what that is. But it was a room. And Hamburger Harry's and New York Comedy Club, they had mics. And the New York Comedy Club mic was like, I'm going to get it wrong, but I think it was like Saturday at like 4 p.m. It's like some weird time. But then you could do regular shows like Friday, Saturday night, but those were bringer shows.
Oh yeah.
So the thing was, okay, bring 4 paying friends, 2 drink minimum, pay the cover, 2 drinks, 4 friends, and after the 4th show, the owner will watch your tape. And that's the pitch.
Oh, you have to do 4 bringers.
4 bringers, and after the 4th one,
the
owner will look at your tape. And that's that all.
Did you do it? How many bringers did you do?
I absolutely did the 4 shows. I absolutely did the 4 shows. And those were man, I don't know if I still have them. They were on VHS. And I don't know if I transferred them to DVD, but I did watch them like years later, and I was embarrassed. Like, I mean, anybody would be watching your like first year or first. Of course. I was embarrassed. I was like, I can't believe I kept saying, "What am I saying? What am I saying? What am I saying?" I kept saying that under my breath. I was like, I was petting my head. I was doing that. I was going, "What am I saying? What am I saying? What am I saying?"
Man, why are you gonna love that?
Why are you? Send this to an agent. What am I saying? What am I saying? That's it. This guy, he's petting himself. He needs to calm himself, and he's telling himself he doesn't know what he's doing. That's perfect. That's great.
For the viewers at home, which at this point, we've
parents,
probably got at least 10 people
at least
watching.
10. Yeah, sure.
Bringers are where comedy clubs... comedy clubs dangle big opportunities over your head, but the catch is you have to force 4 or 5, sometimes 6 or 7 of your friends to pay $20 or $25,
whatever it is,
come watch you, and also still have a 2-drink minimum. But they'll say stuff like, "Oh, the booker might watch this if you come to," and the booker will not watch you unless you do this. No way the booker will ever hear about you if you don't do this bringer.
The booker was literally 20 feet from the room. but he was just sitting by the bar,
Yeah.
not watching. Like, I was like, you could have just like poked your head in.
It's
like,
so funny, yeah.
But it's like you would see it live, but it's like, no, I'm gonna catch it on tape, which is the better way to do it.
Every time you're in a comedy club, the owner
It's close.
is around.
They're always around. Like they could just poke in. They could accidentally see it.
The manager's around.
The booker's around, the owner's around, the manager's around, and none of them. They're always just like at the like. Yeah, there was a. I mean, I told you this before, but yeah, there was a thing at the Funny Bone in St. Louis. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
But
We haven't gotten to that part of your life story, but continue.
But no, he just
Doesn't matter.
there was a print. Yeah, it was a thing of like, I know for a fact that he was the booker because everybody's like, yeah, that's Mike. He's the booker, and he was sitting there watching hockey, at the bar, and the door is as close as
At his alleged job.
as like as your door is right there, and he could have just like looked in, and I was like, are you the booker? And he's like, no.
You asked him.
I said, are you the booker? I asked him twice.
You know what's weird about comedy is people make it sound like you're the asshole for like asking him if he's the booker.
Yeah.
It's like you don't approach the booker.
it's like
That's not a crazy question. Just be like, oh, you're the guy, right?
it's not a.
This is your place.
It's
right?
your job. Like if you're in a hospital,
Yeah.
you can go. Are you a doctor? That's not weird. Like no one's like, who the fuck are you to tell me? No, I'll tell you if I'm the doctor. You don't like. What do you mean? I should ask. It's okay to ask. I'm here for a checkup. I need to know about
You
my.
go to somebody, you're like, are they the manager? They're like, yes. You're like,
Don't look him in the eye. Yeah. It's like don't make sudden. Don't touch him. Again, it's the subway rules. Don't touch him. No contact. If they want to approach you, it's a weird. It was like a weird vibe. He was watching hockey. It was the same thing. It's like, and we all know why we're here. We're there to try to get in, whatever club it is. And no.
I mean, they must make a point to not watch open mics, right?
I'm sure. I'm sure it is.
I mean, every club I've been to, and I won't name any clubs just in case. But it's like the manager, I think, is. It seems like they purposely don't watch the open mic, which is odd though. You go, what's the open mic for?
I do appreciate that the Laugh Factory in Chicago, at least most times, one of the two bookers is actually there and they actually take notes.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Okay,
I mean,
that's good.
They do. They sit in the back. Now it's a short mic.
Yeah.
It's everyone only gets 3 minutes, but that's fine. Like they make, and I've actually seen them. I've done like a little like reconnaissance. Like I've like snuck by, like watched him, and he actually writes like one time after one of my things, he was like, German accent on point. I was like, all right. In case you need an accent guy.
That's the most important thing. Is
I was like,
German accent.
German
right?
accent on point.
Accurate.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so that was like that year of I don't know how far you want me to keep.
I don't know.
Yeah, but anyway, that was the first. That was like New York for a year.
We can always edit this.
For sure.
It's not going to be a Joe Rogan 3-4 hour podcast.
Okay,
we're going to try and keep it an hour.
Smoking cigars, complaining about.
But we can go over time, and if it really,
if there's some gold. And then I moved to LA after a year.
Okay.
So that was the gist of that.
Why LA? Why didn't you just go up to New York?
I should have. I thought LA. I had more friends from school, like actor friends in LA, even though we went to Virginia, than New York. And I always thought LA was cool because at the time, the Groundlings was the big thing.
Yeah.
And that was because at that time they had just brought in the whole new crew. So so there's like 6 new people. So it's Anna Gasteyer, Chris Kattan, Will Ferrell, Sherry O'Terry, Will Parnell behind them, all from the Groundlings, and they all like got moved in one shot. And I was like, oh man, the Groundlings, that's the place to be.
Yeah.
And I was such an idiot that I didn't. That was the biggest fucking mistake of like. I just jumped right in.
What was the allure of Hollywood?
I should have done. Yeah.
The palm trees, the sign.
I when I first got there, I was like, I haven't seen a cloud in a week. That was cool. I was like, I literally was like, I've been here for like whatever time, 10 days, 20 days, whatever. I didn't see one cloud. I was like, this is amazing. It's always 70 degrees. I can't believe. And that is cool. Like you go, it never rains. It's always the same. And then after a while, like, it's
cool.
It drives you insane. I was like, it's never changing. It's always.
It's always really nice
it's always
weather.
70. It's always 70. It's always this. It's always the same. It's winter. It's Christmas. Merry Christmas. It's 70. Okay, things are fine.
And it doesn't rain.
It never rains.
They can't handle the rain.
It's hilarious. Yeah, everyone slows down. Everyone slows down when it starts to rain, and I noticed that I always hear like if it starts to rain, you will hear ambulances because I think someone wrapped themselves around a telephone pole. Because someone every time, like it'll rain for like half an hour and stop, and you'll hear an ambulance. Like, oh, someone ignored the rain. Like,
deal with it.
It's weird because the roads get beat up because of the sun, and the car and the tires get bald because of the sun. The tires get really beat up, so it's not good when it's wet, and then someone always like flies into a wall or something. Anyway, so that was the experience.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. They're fine. I'm sure they were going 20.
Was LA? I mean, did you get there and I think it was like a mistake, or like, I mean, you must have been. Was it a big jump? I don't know.
It was kind of. I mean, I was there for a long time, but I was like, it took me a while to get like anything going. But again, day job.
How was the grind?
It was the grind was grinding. Oh, so it was the mics were a whole different vibe, and at the time it was like Pedersen's was the big alt room, and that was like the big in Culver City, and it was like the cool underground comics because like everybody wanted to be Janine Garofalo.
Yeah,
that was the vibe, and people came in with certain.
By the way, you can perform. Never mind.
What's that?
I won't bring up the laughing Buddha.
Oh,
you can perform with her at a Bringer show.
Oh, can you?
At Eastville every Wednesday, she does the Bringer show. Sorry.
Okay, no. But like Zach Galifianakis was there, and like there were a bunch of other cool comics that were, and he already had like buzz. Like a lot of comics were already like had a lot of something behind them, and I think he had just done Montreal, and so it was like, whoa, this guy, and he was always really funny, and then that was the spot. There were mics on what was it, Tuesdays. There was a mic on Tuesday, and then there was a showcase on Thursdays. And then it moved to the Gypsy, and then it moved to the Westwood Brew. And Gypsy and the Westwood Brew Co. were both in Westwood, near UCLA. And you would get a lot of foot traffic. And it was like, it's rare in LA to think of that, but like Westwood does feel, it is a college little town. So people do roll in. And those were cool mics. Those were really fun. You could be experimental. It has a nice vibe, a similar vibe to, I would say Hall Yard's similar. One of our favorite mics, or one of the fun mics where there's like just like random people walking in. Yeah. So those are fun. And the grind was good. I was like really mystified by people who were able to audition for things because at the time like I never had like a waiting tables job. Yeah. And you could like be, so I had the mentality of like I gotta have a 9 to 5. I just gotta answer phones. Do it. I did an FMC. Like I got to do that thing. So like that just seemed like easier to me and less stress. I never really liked waiting tables. I did it once in college and got fired because I wasn't good at it. I was not. I was like somebody was like,
"It's surprising."
It's
how did you get fired? How would you be so bad to get fired?
Well, I did not tell them I was taking the whole Thanksgiving weekend off. Oh, yeah. I said, I'm going home for Thanksgiving. And I assumed, they're like, that means 4 days. Yeah. And they had me booked for like the next Friday. I was like, what? It's Friday. And I was like, I assumed you knew. And the guy did when you assume, you make an ass out of you. I was like, that's the first time I heard that. Yeah. I was like, oh, go fuck yourself.
That is a tempting thing, though, at the restaurant. You're like, I'm just going to blow this off, I think.
It is.
I think I will be going home to Thanksgiving.
It was a Shoney's. You got fired from Shoney's? I got fired from Shoney's.
How long did you work at Shoney's?
Probably half a year, 6 months, and I was gone. I don't even know I made it. And like one of the, I remember I was definitely working through Halloween because all the townies in Charlottesville, like one of the girls wore like pom-poms for Halloween. She dressed like a high school cheerleader. And I was like, who are you? And you're a cheerleader? She goes, I'm a college student. I was like, that's not, all right. You think they wear, what? You think they wear pom-poms? What? I'm one of them college students. Okay. And then the big joke was like, one of the big jokes was.
Never had any education.
If you Google, you're carrying a bunch of books. Yeah. Carrying like Charles Dickens. I'm one of them. Oh, that's terrible. But like it was UVA, so they definitely had like that vibe. Sure. And they were the joke around UVA was like if your last name is Shiflett, there's like the joke is like they live in one valley outside Charlottesville, and it's like they're this family that's like notorious for like inbreeding. Please don't kill me. I'm just that's the rumor. I'm sure it's not true, but whatever. Anyway, there's
no disrespect.
There's multiple spellings of it. Sure. There's like 2 F's, 2 T's, 1 F, 1 T, but it's all like Shiflett, and there's a huge disproportionate number of Shifletts in Charlottesville for the size of the town. And my manager at Shoney's was Dave Shiflett, so everybody was like, "Are you?" Everybody's like, is your sister your mom? Like everybody was like, nobody said anything, but I was like, huh. And it was just a weird. Anyway, so Shoney's. It was.
What was your favorite item on the menu?
Man,
well, we got to get into the hard hitting question.
Probably the apple cobbler.
The apple cobbler
was not bad.
Did you get free food?
I I forget. I think it probably was free lunch or something. Yeah, when you were there, you probably get a free meal. I think. I'm sure you did. I forget. I was there I was gone so fast.
I don't know why it fascinates me. I've only been one time.
It was, but
I just see it and I go, that looks like a horrible place.
It is. I mean, the menu is so complicated. The menu for what it is. It's so But I'm again that's what I know it's the cliche, but I do respect anyone who does it because I'm shitty at it. I was so bad at it. I couldn't remember the things. I couldn't remember the orders, and we're supposed to make the milkshakes. We had to make the milkshakes. I was like, I fucking hated that. And this one girl was like, "Mine's too lumpy. Can you?" I was like, "Oh my god."
You have to be nice. That's the hardest part. The hardest part is being even cordial.
It's so I'm not. I was so bad.
You're not allowed to make a frowny face.
I'm
You're not allowed to scowl. You can't scowl.
No.
Because they'll pick right up on that.
That's the one good thing about the office job and definitely working from home. You can scowl all you want. No one even knows.
Yeah.
But if you're in a Shoney's, they all, with your little vest. I had to wear like a vest.
It's like office.
I had like a black vest and a white shirt. It's like, oh, what am I doing?
So, okay. Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
When did you start getting auditions? How'd that happen?
So that took a while because I didn't, it was a few years. Like I hadn't, because of my office job, I was like, oh, I guess I'm just gonna do the mics and hope something happens.
Yeah.
And it was weird to hear comics that had things going on. They're like, I'm auditioning for this. I'm auditioning for that. I was like, how do you fucking do that? How do you even get the time? It's the same. Like, how do you get time? You kick the hours.
People are like, yeah, I work for Big J. Okerson. You're like, how do you meet Big J. Okerson?
Yeah, how do you go 1, 2, 3? I don't. So finally, I got promoted at my job, and they knew like I would. This is like. I got one commercial agent, Osbrink, and I didn't book anything with them ever. I was there for like 6 months or a year, but there was a strike, a commercial actor strike in the middle, which I don't know how long it went, for couple months, but I got nothing from them, and I was lying to my office, and like, oh, I have a doctor's appointment, or I would take a paid time off day, a PTO day. Or whatever, and that only can go so far. That only goes so far before they figure something like you're full of shit. But then they knew I wanted to do that. But then Osbrink dropped me after a year because I didn't book anything. So which is what I don't know if I have to. But the agencies will, if you don't get anything, they'll be like no. And then but then my job gave me a different, like they promoted me from the answering phone job, which was less of a like you're tied to a desk. There's a little more flexibility. And so then all of a sudden they knew I wanted to do that, and I was like, oh, they're like you can be more like if you show up early or stay late, as long as you just do your thing, you can go. Hey, I'm gonna be gone from 10 to noon or 10 to 1 or whatever. So then I got another agent years later, coast to coast.
Yeah, how many years is this in Los Angeles?
So Osbrink was
getting Osbrink and then getting the next agent. Like how many years?
98 to 2001. Osbrink was 2001, and I specifically remember this is a real thing. I remember it was the day after 9/11. I made up. I already had an audition class.
Yeah.
On 9/12. And I went to that, and I remember thinking, like, what the fuck am I doing? I was in rush hour traffic. I was like, what? Wow, I don't even know. I was just in a weird haze. Like a lot of people were like, what the fuck? And it was not. I mean,
I was in first grade, so it's like, everything was great.
Yeah, you just didn't know. Yeah, that's terrible.
I was asking fun questions about 9/11 to my parents. I was like, oh, how many people died?
it was the weirdest thing because it was just anyway.
Yeah.
But that was a weird vibe, and there was like they were playing like what goes around comes around, like they were playing that on the radio when I was driving, like we're gonna fucking get them.
I remember the country songs. Dude, Louisiana had a lot of country songs.
It was like we're gonna I'm sure.
Where were you? What's the song? I'm proud to be an American.
Yeah, of course. Yep, that was the
blasting at every party my parents dragged me to.
That was everywhere. And that was football games.
I proudly stand up.
Yep, that was everywhere. So that was like 2001, and then they sent me a letter, a very professional letter, which I think I still have. I think I saved it for when I get to the Oscars.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys blew it. So I saved
my framed letter.
I did save it. I saved all of my weird fuck ups because I'm like, I don't know why. I'm a masochist, I guess, or
It was fun.
It's fun. It's a fun little thing. Like, sorry.
It's the only way to deal with it, really.
It's true. It was very professional. I was like, sorry, it didn't work out. We're just gonna have to part ways. Da, 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 da. I was like, all right, fine. So then I was like burnt, once bitten, twice shy, and I didn't have anything for like 2007. So it was like 6 years.
Okay, so this is probably a question right to the point. How many years did it take for you to get anything in Los Angeles? What was your first like big role? Or
9.
9 years.
9 years. Okay, let me just preface this.
Yes.
Whatever anyone does, like literally any big human moment, drive a car, have a drink, have sex, get a place, buy your own clothes, book a job. I did it after you. I did it after everybody. Like I did it after everybody. Like everyone's like, oh man, I've been here for 2 years and I couldn't. I was like, okay, good. People are like, I'm 23. Where is my SAG card? I mean, I'm 23. What the hell? I'm like, all right. I'm so sorry that it's taken this long. It's always been like everything. I'm always the last person to do anything. So that's just the way it goes.
Did you have a good attitude about it? How did you deal with that? I remember, like, obviously it took me a long time to get anything at all with my agent. It took several years. It was very depressing.
Honestly,
it's very depressing because you're like, oh, maybe I'll never get anything at all.
I did have that vibe.
I'm like, please just let me get something.
I had that vibe because I knew that there were comics, stand-up comedians, and then that were getting, you would see them on TV.
Yeah.
You literally would see people that, like at a mic, like that 2 hours later, you'd see them at fucking Dell computer or whatever. Like, Jesus Christ, like good for you, man. I was getting a little bit jealous, but I was like, I know I can do something. Like, I know I can do one of these things. I just had this, I don't know, I guess I have a weird thing of like, I'm just going to keep doing this. And and honestly, it was kind of fun. Going on auditions is fun to me. Like, not that they're always awesome, but it's always a chance to do something. So even if it sucks or I don't get it, I'm still like, yeah, but it was someone looked at me saying words for 30 seconds. And that's kind of fun. It took 9 years to get, and I booked a commercial through the second agent through Coast to Coast, and it was a Brinks Home commercial, Brinks Home Security. And I was a bad guy breaking into a house. And I was the world's most unsubtle thief, where literally I was like looking through the window of the house, and then I backed up and I kicked in the door, and then the Brinks alarm went off, and I ran away. And
I like how commercial. Did they make you kind of zany? I feel like they have to make the criminals kind of zany.
I was wearing a hoodie. Like I was unshaven. It was just like, don't shave and wear a hoodie, and that was it. And that was my first thing. And it was non-union, but I was so excited. Like I remember, I was like, I couldn't fucking believe that I did this thing, and the house, the interior of the house was shot at the old Warner Brothers studio.
That's awesome.
And it was like to do
that's worth it almost.
So that's what I'm saying.
Be in Los Angeles for 9 years, just be like.
So like to literally be across the street from the Formosa Cafe where like movies start. And again, I realize I'm not comparing myself to Humphrey Bogart. I'm not saying, but just to be like to drive onto a set in my shitty jalopy of like an old Toyota Corolla, and the security guard's like. I didn't know the lingo. I was like, I'm in the commercial and I'm in the thing and I'm not the director, but I'm in it.
Yeah.
He's like, are you the talent? I was like, yes, I am.
So
I was like, I am I? Yes. He's like, okay, go ahead up here, lot 2, turn left, da da da. I was like, okay, holy fuck, I'm the talent. Like it was so weird. That's what I didn't know I was the talent. That was what you're supposed to call a person. So yeah, that was the first thing. And I was like, that was one of the happiest days, just like being on the set of like that old Warner Brothers lot, which now is in Burbank. But like, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is where they shot Casablanca or whatever the fuck, like back in the day. So yeah, that was kind of worth like that kind of cool. I was the idiot running around taking pictures with my old flip phone cell phone of like the craft services and like, this is my trailer, this is my dressing room, this is my costume. I was like, what the? So that was exciting. And then there were with Coast to Coast, I got a bunch more like, just like 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't. None of it, and what I would always do was I would, like with that one, I made a point to go buy a really nice suit from Nordstrom's and get it tailored. And I was like, I did.
Because of your new status?
Because I'm basically showbiz. I'm Mr. Showbiz. No, I really needed a suit. And I was getting embarrassed because like people were getting married. A lot of my friends were getting married. And I had like a shitty old blazer and like khakis, And I was like, I'm not gonna dress like a barbershop quartet guy or whatever. Like I wanted a suit, like a nice suit, and I could never have afforded that. Like so, I was like, and so now I still have it, and I like to have a tangible thing.
Yeah.
That's like this. I'm wearing something that acting paid for.
Okay. Well, at what point does the personal trainer come in?
Okay.
We're gonna jump to maybe the peak.
Okay,
the peak. The acting journey.
This is the peak. So that's only a year later. So that's a year later, and it was a national commercial for State Farm, and that was like, that was a good amount of money. Like it only ran for 4 or 5 months, but it played every football game, and it was a thing of like every time it runs, you get paid. If it plays on network. So it ran 2 or 3 times every football game. It was like, feeling kind of Sunday, it's like some State Farm thing.
And you're like, the passive income is here.
That was it. And this is before Jake from State Farm, like that whole thing. But it was like Adrian Peterson was new. He was the big he was the big star. So we had to fly from LA to Minnesota for Adrian Peterson because of his schedule. So the whole production was based around him just being like, I'm there. And like it's like him, he's wearing his suit, like he's wearing his uniform and runs off, and so that was crazy. Yeah, you get flown first class, which I'd never done ever, and I got some extra money, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna move into a bigger apartment, and I'm gonna get a personal trainer.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, hell yeah! And like I signed up for
new neighborhood.
Same same building.
Okay.
Same building, same building. I moved one door over. I went from
You're like, goodbye peasants.
I went from 211 to 210. Wearing 5832 Waring Ave, from 211, which was like a studio, to just because I was like, this is a nice bump, and I signed up for a gym. I always wanted to. And so then they give you 3 sessions, and then I started painting this guy weekly to train me, and I was like, this is my life now. I'm an LA guy, and you gotta
look good.
I gotta be ripped. And I wasn't auditioning for the MCU. Like I wasn't doing anything. There was no need for that.
Did you do any theatrical auditions or
at that time? No, I just commercial. I was like, I don't know why am I doing this? I don't know why I
feel like I'm a commercial guy now.
It's easy. Yeah, it's easy in LA to get wrapped up into that because it's hard to be like a casual gym person. Like I might just do this. This is my life now.
There's a lot of buff people there.
So many buff people.
More buff people than you can ever imagine.
It's really the gym at the 24-hour fitness at Sunset and Vine is a show. It's like some guy's wearing his 1984 Olympics trial team unitard. It's really crazy.
Did you ever go to any cool parties there? I feel like
yes. I mean,
the whole mystique of Hollywood is like, oh, they have cool parties.
There are some, like there are
on
people.
A hill.
There are people. There's a lot of hill parties.
Yeah.
You go to parties and it's like, I've been to some parties. I don't know whose house it was. Like because you're invited because it's like second, third degree of like, oh, my friend is house sitting. There's a lot of house sitters. I don't know why. It's a whole subculture. I'm house sitting, so it's Kevin Smith's house. I'm making that up, but like some famous director or some famous blah 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 is out of town. They're shooting this and that. They want me to watch the house and like walk their dog, and they have the house. And sometimes they'll invite people like that they know, and so all of a sudden you have access to this insane whirlpool, and it's like, what the fuck? How do I live like that? And it's just like up in the hills.
People have regular sized houses. I feel like in New York, you can't even the nicest apartments.
Yeah, the houses are really like the guy that owned.
You're not like, oh shit, come to my 3-bedroom.
Like the guy that owned the comedy theater, Acme Comedy Theater, nice guy, but we're like, I don't think the theater makes that much money. Where is this? And he was a house up in the hills, same deal, and it had like a dance room. It had a room with like a disco ball that was the house came pre-dance roomed, and it had like a pole and a fucking lights, and it had a weird semi-creepy camera that you could watch the dancers in the kitchen. I was like, what's happening?
What the fuck?
It was like, what are we...
like a voyeur.
It was like, yes, I can have chips and watch the people. It was really weird.
Just so we know what's going on in the dance room.
I'm not creepy. I'm just enjoying my food, and I'm having a smoothie, and I'm watching the people twirl around. It was really weird. I know he didn't put that in there. I know it came pre-whatever.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of houses that have like this weird, like a weird screening room.
Basketball court.
Yeah, weird shit.
In the house.
Yeah, or like weird sculptures. The Hollywood, it definitely has a vibe. I mean, I can't tell you that I met so and so famous person, but like, so you have access on occasion. If you hang out enough, somebody you know will be invited to some party, and then you're all of a sudden at this weird mansion overlooking the city. You're like, all right, cool. it happened. I mean,
I think one of
It's
the most shocking things to me about moving to New York is probably the same in Los Angeles. Is you realize there's like an infinite number of rich people. It's actually incredible. I never considered. You can't even fathom the amount of wealth that's in one small area. Like you go to the Upper West Side, and you're like, oh, this is all infinitely rich people.
Yeah, when I went to the Upper West Side, I was like, you know that you can shop elsewhere. Like that was my first thought. Was like, for me I still like price compare when I shop. Like my oat milk here is $5.99, and then Upper West Side is like $8.99. You can take like 4 bus stops, and it costs like no. But if I walk downstairs, it's Upper West Side milk. It's much better.
That's good.
It's the same brand. It's the same brand. It just costs more because you're in the fancy neighborhood. Yeah.
Well, the cows are much happier.
They're very classy.
Yeah. So
that was the personal trainer phase, and we would work out at Sunset and Vine, these very upscale apartment complexes where he lived with his girlfriend. We would train in a very nice private gym, and it was upstairs from. It was across from the ArcLight Dome, which is amazing. I love that theater, and then it was upstairs from this very overpriced seafood place called the Hungry Cat. So you'd be working out and smelling these delicious burgers, like fuck. And that was a lot. And they had like a pool.
Did you have a special diet?
He did. He had stuff printed out like eat this, eat this, eat this. I did get in really good shape, like for that time. It was crazy because for a year I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but that was my.
We're committed.
There was no point. There was no reason for that. Like I wasn't auditioning. Like I said, I wasn't auditioning for Baywatch or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was what you do.
How long did that period last?
About a year.
About a year.
Yeah, about as long as the money lasted for that commercial, or half a year.
Okay. Well, so when did you leave Los Angeles?
2015.
2015.
Mm-hmm.
You were just like, I'm done.
I always wanted. Yeah, my girlfriend at the time, and I told her like, hey, I've always dreamt of living in Chicago. And
Interesting.
It was always a dream. I always thought it was a cool city, and it kind of started to manifest. The more I got, I don't know, just stuck in this rut of LA. I just I got dropped by the agent. Not that that's the only thing, because I hit a cold streak and I stopped booking again, and they dropped me. The second agent dropped me.
They dropped you after you booked all those things.
They did. Yeah, yes, because it was. I mean, it wasn't like a ton, but it was like, yeah, it was 2 or 3 things a year for 4 or 5 years, something like that, and then it was like a year of nothing, and then I got the same very similar form letter as the last time. And they were like, hey, sorry, we have to part ways and blah, blah, blah. And then I got like a small boutique agency called Rascals.
No, Rascals.
Hell yeah. And they were cool. They were really cute. It was a husband-wife team. And I booked one thing with them. And it was like for ESPN. And I was an undercover cop who was just like in the back. I was like a featured background. I wasn't background, but I was like one of the guys, like one of the 4 or 5 cops around the commissioner of fantasy football, and the cop, like the police chief, would be like running the league, and we're all like listening to him talk about it as commissioner of football to make the tough choices, and it was just like, it was really fun. It was 2 or 3 days of like hanging out and just pretending to be a cop, hanging out, listening to the guy talk about his football teams, and then I finally moved to Chicago in 2015, and I was there for 7 years.
Was it cool? I don't know. I don't think I could do Chicago. It seems like a miserable cold.
Oh yeah, I loved it. I still miss it. I mean, I loved it. It's just like a more manageable, more affordable New York. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit of a smaller,
probably a little friendlier.
Yeah,
sort of the Midwest vibe.
Like, it is. Although it's like surprising because there is a weird coldness to it. Like I'm not talking like personality wise. There is a weird coldness to it. Yeah, it is more friendly in general, I would say. I don't know though. New Yorkers are nice.
That's true. I feel like the mean ones are mostly transplants.
That's very true.
Or also, okay, they're mean because they just, if they think you're going to waste their time or something, they don't want to talk to you. But like once you get them talking,
yeah,
could be the nicest people in the world.
I mean, honestly, like people at the gym, everyone's like, "Hey, be good."
Yeah, I bet in your neighborhood,
Bay Ridge, they're super nice.
Bay Ridge is. I bet like real Brooklyn, like native Brooklyners.
They are.
I mean, people in this neighborhood are super nice.
Yeah.
This is not a cool, trendy neighborhood. It's just a residential.
There's no pretension at all. Like it's very much like, it does feel like blue collar, middle-aged men They're like trying to lose a few pounds. They're like, my wife's getting on me. How do I? And like, what do I do? How do I? And like,
Yeah, how
like,
many heavy bags are in that gym?
oh God, yeah, fuck, like 4. I don't know. I mean,
It's not a box.
They had a ring. Oh. They had a ring in there, and they took the ring out to make room for more bags. So they
like, we're wasting time with the ring. It's really
because the ring is like 2 people in there, but the bags you can put like 1, 1, 1, 1. You got more people training. Yeah. So yeah, there's like a bunch of heavy bags, and there's one like the smaller, fast. There's a couple of those speed bags. Yeah, there's speed bags. So there's a bunch of that. And there's you see the same crew of people every time because I go on at like 10 a.m. It's the same group of people. Mm-hmm. And there's one guy that always trains with like his sunglasses. But I love it. Like, I feel like that's his vibe. He just like he likes to he wants to focus in, and maybe he's doesn't want the bright lights of the gym in his face. I don't know.
That's cool.
But everyone's really nice. It's like really.
I want to go. I need to find a gym. I haven't been to the gym one time here. It's so hard to leave the house here. I can't.
Yeah. I mean, my gym is like 3 blocks away, so that's the only reason. That's why I go. Just do anything different.
Okay. We talked a lot about acting.
Yeah.
A little more about...
Too much.
Too much.
Way too much.
We're going to have to cut a lot of this out. Not really.
No.
Let's talk a little bit about comedy. Like,
sure.
I'll just ask you some, like, just quick questions to wrap it up. What was the biggest... What was your favorite place to do comedy? What has been your favorite place to do comedy? Or what is your favorite show that you've ever done?
I would say... Comedy Club on State in Madison, Wisconsin.
Really?
Is amazing. Yeah, okay. that place. And I've emceed there once, and then I did a guest spot a couple of times in like 7 minutes. And that place is so hot. I've never been in a hotter room. This is how I was emceeing on a Thursday night, and almost killing. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't because I was that good. I mean, I was whatever. I was okay, but they come in so hot. Like you would kill. If you've done some mics and you're all right. I think most of the comics we know would kill.
You just have a handle on what you're talking.
You have a handle and you're slightly original. And you have good energy. They're so hot. They come in ready to go. And it was like that place was. And it's also I think it's like because you're in a corner. I think that helps. That's it. I mean I don't have the science on it, but I think something about being in a corner it like focuses the energy into the and it's a really big room. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's an amazing play. Like I was like, I have my 7 minutes. I'm gonna get a good tape out of this, and then I only got like 5 minutes in because they were laughing so much I had to stop. And again, not a brag. They're just. I don't want the crowd to be like this fucking guy. Who is he?
Oh, don't worry. A year into doing comedy, in Louisiana, you just go to somewhere in the middle of nowhere and do a mic, and it's just as long as you didn't like stumble through your jokes.
Yeah.
You get like an applause break.
Yeah,
it's like I clearly had no idea what I'm doing, but
yeah. Some of the places.
I'm really funny.
Yeah, but I love that place. There are some really like fun Midwestern rooms. I mean, I know I keep talking about the Midwest.
What's the show you've done that was like you're the most proud of?
I would say
Stand.
I would say featuring at Zanies in Chicago probably.
Okay.
Just because I was like those are like legendary. There's like legendary club, and you'd be like, oh, I'm getting paid this much, and I'm such a nerd. I like framed the check from it's like $100 or something. I do that. But I made a copy and framed it. I was like, yeah. I mean, it was cool because it's like a legendary club, and you're in there. That was kind of cool.
Okay, what was your worst bomb ever?
Holy shit! It might have been Zanies. Before like it might have been.
What's your worst bomb on a real show?
It was man. Yeah, there was like the Chicago Comedy Festival, but when I lived in LA before I moved there, like I visited a long time ago, like 2000, and I was such an idiot. I mean, I was young, but I was like again like already young, but like I wasn't smart enough to go. You can change up your set a little bit. You can react a little bit. I was like, this is exactly line for line. This is my 7 minutes.
No one talks to me.
Yeah, no one. Yeah, if a glass falls over, the whole thing's fucked. Like I was like, nothing will change. And god damn, man, I should have been a little more flexible. And they were low energy rooms. Like we happened to not get like a great vibe, but regardless, I should have been more on it. I should have been better. And I just like I'm going to pretend that these 12 people R100, and I'm gonna. How you doing? Oh my God, it's like so shameful.
They're so skeptical, and then you just come in with the fake. The host energy always hurts me when I go see a show.
I was so bad.
Everyone's calm, and then someone comes in. How the hell are you?
Let me hear. I was so bad that in the festival at Zany's, because the comics were really good. Like some of the comics were really strong, and so if you follow someone who's strong, it really showcases that you're just not there.
Yeah.
And
it happened to me on Monday.
Really? Yeah. It's hard, man. It's like really rough. And it was so bad that one of the open micers that I did shows with in LA fucking talked about it the next week in his set. And he didn't name names. I know he was talking about me. We all knew he was talking about me because he came over and apologized after. He's like, I'm sorry, I had to mention that. I was like, fuck you.
Some guy I was in Chicago with.
Literally, he said, and I'll never forget this. He said, he did a segue so bad you could see it from outer space.
Damn.
No, he said you did a
That's
segue.
funny that he didn't name you, but he felt the need to apologize.
He said he did a segue so clumsy you could have seen it from outer space. The gear shift, and I was like, yeah, fuck. It was awful. I ate a big bowl of shit. And when you're doing it at a famous big club, it really hits. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not like an open mic or something. They're up on stage with real comics. And
yeah, and you're kind of like, this is my big
chance, and I'm eating a bowl of shit. Yeah. So that was pretty rough.
That happened to be a Monday at the Grizzly Bear Midtown. It was an independent show. Even at the legendary Grizzly Bear Midtown.
Of course.
It felt bad. I followed Jamar Neighbors, who I don't know. I didn't know who he was.
Oh, shit. I know, yeah. I know I've heard the name. I think I've seen him. I mean, I've seen him on TV, I'm sure.
But it was like a kind of a tense crowd. But he came in, huge energy.
Sure.
Really off the wall, weird comedy, like walking in the audience. He has like a mohawk and stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I just came on with my tension and anxiety because he had to leave early. He was supposed to be headlining. They were like, well, we'll put him on first. We'll put him on right before you.
That kind of sucks though because he has TV credits.
Yeah.
And he's like, if he's supposed to be, how much time did you do?
Probably like 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you also did, how much did you do?
I did like 5.
Okay. But I feel like that's not really fair because they probably came to see him.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like they came to see him.
Well, who knows, though? It was like a Midtown crowd, you know? They could have just, who knows? They got barked in.
Yeah, that's true. True. I just feel like that's not, that's kind of unfair to be like, oh, I'm going to kill.
But it was also my fault, totally. Like, I totally brought the worst energy. I was anxious. First thing I said, did okay. I had like one line. My first line got a laugh. I'm like, oh, I'm good. But then my first joke didn't do that well. And then I just like froze up for like a few seconds too long, and I could have played it off. But instead, I was like, "Oh, that was weird." Like I said something like that.
Yeah.
And then the crowd's like, "Oh,
is it weird?"
That was weird.
Yeah, you're right. We weren't laughing.
Yeah.
There must be a reason. We do hate you.
Whatever. They weren't fun people.
Yeah.
Do you have any jokes?
Bunch of dicks.
Because I always think about this. I have a joke where I remember like every time I think about it, I want to sweat. I sweat a little. Do you have like a joke that you remember as like, this was the worst joke ever? And I don't mean like offensiveness. I mean like it was just you're like, why the fuck did I think that was going to be funny? And it was like for a crowd. Or...
Did it? I have one that Yeah, I mean it's embarrassing. Like I can't. It went well for a bunch of times, and now I'm embarrassed that I ever said it a long time ago.
Like I did. My worst joke is I did a joke at this place called Carrollton Station in New Orleans, and it was like a few months into doing comedy, and it was just like about something about exhuming Benjamin Franklin to show him about the future. And it was like it was like 2 pages written out in a notebook that I read verbatim. Like I memorized verbatim this whole thing about Benjamin Franklin. I'd exhume him and he'd be like, "Whoa, refrigerators are weird." Dude, to total silence, and I just was pouring sweat. And I didn't do comedy for like 2 weeks after.
Jesus.
I was like, no.
How long ago was this?
It was 2019.
Oh, okay. I did something that was a legendary bomb at Black Cat Lower East Side.
Oh yeah,
which is an open mic that a lot of comics like, myself included. But like, it was my worst, without question, my worst set ever there. And I often do okay there.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's a good energy, but this is a weird thing. So it was Halloween. It was the Saturday pre-Halloween. So people were wearing costumes, which they sometimes do.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I honestly never tape myself there.
Yeah.
I feel weird. It's like an open mic, and I feel like weird because I feel like it's not going to translate.
Sure.
But then I was like, man, I wonder if I should tape it because this set probably is going to do something. It's probably going to be pretty hot.
We're gonna clip this.
I'm going to clip this because this is going to be, and agents are going to want to see it. Agents are going to be like, who's this guy? And I was like,
He's on Comedians on the Loose. Catch him before
he's
they're
on
famous.
comedians. Yeah, I mean, he's on the loose. We gotta wrangle him into the stable of hilarious people. And I was like, I dressed as Boba Fett. I had a Boba Fett hoodie that if you zip it all the way up, like you get the full mask and everything. Yeah. And like on the train over to the show, I was like, I'm so good I can write fucking a set on the train. Don't even worry about it. Right on the go, baby. So it was a bunch of Star Wars jokes. There's a bunch of Star Wars jokes. I was like,
written on the fly.
I was like, why do they still call her Princess Leia? Princess of what? Didn't they blow her planet up? What the fuck? I should a princess up. Am I right about that? And I was like, it's Boba Fett, but it was telling these jokes about Princess Leia. And literally even Sonia, who's a notorious laugher, dead silence, the whole room. And I don't know if it was just because my whole face was covered.
She usually gives you leeway if she likes you.
Nothing. She was just nobody. But I was like, I'm plowing forward. So I did my Boba Bomb Fett for 5 minutes of just like what? Something about his like I made some joke about his back missile. Like he's like, you ever been fucking a girl and your back missile goes off too soon? Oh my god, that's nenever happened. Sorry about your roommate. Boy oh boy.
And the worst thing is
they all hated it. Everybody was like, nothing.
When you do something goofy or you have a goofy joke and no one laughs, it's immediately like, what's wrong with me?
It's like a sparkler going off. It's so obvious because you can't you can't be casual.
Yeah.
Like if you make a casual joke and it doesn't go, it could be just seen as like I'm just talking, or I'm making a setup, or I'm just like making a thought.